What up, gamers? Spencer here, and welcome back to my reaction to the Theorizer's Pixar Mega Theories. So last time we began the second playlist with the Nest theory and also the three Ross theories here, and now we're going to move on to, I guess, the Incredible Syndrome theories and I guess a one Mirage theory as well. But yeah, I did say at the end, maybe around the end of the previous video, that I would rewatch The Incredibles, which I just did like a few minutes ago, and yeah, I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. I kind of forgot, like, I guess most of the backstory or lore of the whole thing because at first when I watched it back as a kid, I thought they were just like a normal superhero family that just wants to, lay low and just live a normal life. And with the kids though, maybe they want to be more like superheroes. But yeah, I never realized about the whole like, the superheroes being all like illegal or banned or whatever. But yeah, it was cool to rewatch that and get some lore out of it. But yeah, now we're about to watch the theories about it. Like I said, beginning with the syndrome theories, two over here, and then I guess the Mirage theory as well. So before we get started, I just want to let you guys know to check out the Theorizer's channel because yeah, he's been making all these videos that I've been watching as of recent when it comes to the Pixar Mega Theory. Yeah, so far it's been really fun. I think so far, like in the previous video, Roz has been my favorite one just because it just feels like the most believable one without it being like too far-fetched or reaching to, other areas. But yeah, let's see about this Incredibles theory, starting off with the piece of syndrome nobody talks about. So yeah, let's go ahead and watch, man. Here we go.
The Incredibles, my
Yeah.
number one favorite Pixar movie,
Oh,
maybe even
really?
animated movie altogether, and I've made a couple of videos on it
Yeah, for me,
already.
it's
One where I
Cars.
tried calculating the maximum strength of their
That's my number
powers,
one,
and one
Pixar.
where I combined the theories of a dozen other theorists to
What
create
is
a grand
what is this
concept
thumbnail
of Syndrome's plan. But
or
today, upon watching a
artwork?
few videos by the YouTubers Super Carlin Brothers, scanning through the comment
Okay,
sections of multiple different videos of mine, and
they're being
diving into
referenced
the deep
again.
depths of Reddit fan theories, I figured something out that may or may not work for the movie, but regardless, it is cool.
Okay, yeah. I mean, as long as it is entertaining and cool to think about, I'm down for it. Yeah, hopefully I can maybe give more commentary because since
Hello,
I
I'm the
watched that,
Theorizer, and
I
today I have
rewatched the movie
something good
recently.
for you. Well, it's something. So I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, then you've seen The Incredibles, but
Yep,
anyways,
rewatched it.
Syndrome. A character who, honestly, is intricate, well thought out, and brilliant.
Yeah.
Perhaps a little too brilliant?
I've always wondered about him because one thing in the movie that I feel like they did not even explain, at least, from when I rewatched it, was like how he got so powerful. Because I know like what I thought maybe happened is that because he's really good at inventing things like that rocket boots from the beginning of the movie, maybe he made something out of that where that's how he got all the money and stuff. I'm not sure.
Perhaps he is a superhero, but not in the typical sense. Perhaps he has super intellect, and this is why
Oh,
he
you know
can
what?
rise through the ranks of a
I
government
can
and
see
get
that.
filthy rich at such a young age. This is a theory which so many people have considered that it's actually scary. A few months ago, I considered this as a possibility when analyzing a ton of Pixar movies at once. I binge theorized Monsters Inc., Ratatouille, and I was going to do The Incredibles, but I've been saving it for a while. Then, I read some YouTube comments of people asking if Syndrome's intellect could be considered a superpower, and I thought,
I can see that. Like he does seem to be more smarter than the average person, but he still does make mistakes. Like at the battle in the city with the that one uh that one like spear robot. I forgot his name already, but yeah, like he didn't really, calculate everything that he thought would happen. Like that robot just went after his control.
I could add to this concept. A few months
Like it
back,
pretty much
Reddit
backfired on
user
him.
DRIKU12
Oh, what? Hold on, let me see that again. I don't know what he said right now.
DRIKU12
Okay, it's just in his username. And a few others I just saw when editing this. Okay.
said it quite well. But there are a couple of parts I think need changing up, which is finally leading me to share my theory on the topic. The person who wrote it claimed that Syndrome's telekinetic power is weakened due to him having Down syndrome.
Down syndrome. Is that a real thing? I mean, I don't know, like, his actual origin of the name Syndrome. That's wild.
Disagree. As the top commenter on this post pointed out, it is very likely that Syndrome's name is based off of hero syndrome, a phenomenon that
Oh, you know
affects
what?
people who want recognition,
I can
to
see
the
that.
point of creating a dire situation just to resolve it. Brilliant research Reddit. But now it's my turn to look at this from a whole different
Yeah, I feel like it's
perspective.
more the hero
So
syndrome.
first we have to ask the legitimate question. Does Syndrome actually know he's a super, or is he hiding it so that he doesn't appear as a hypocrite? Keep in mind that supers don't have to be heroes, they can also be villains. But does he actually know that he is one?
In my opinion, I think he just, I don't think he really thought about that being a superpower, like being super smart.
Well, let's look at the evidence. Syndrome doesn't
Since,
appear to
like,
care. All he knows is that he's smart, that he can easily create powerful weapons and devices.
it can
When
be like
Mr.
anyone.
Incredible asks if
Anyone can be
Syndrome
like
killed
super
tons of
smart.
heroes just to pretend to be one,
Maybe like not as smart as him. Like, yeah, I'm sure like maybe there's like a rare few people that can be as smart as him, but I think just in general, like, just being super smart. Unless like maybe it's like so smart where it can be considered a superpower, maybe. But I thought he was just like just smart, like a normal person.
Syndrome denies it, telling Bob that he's real, real enough to defeat the heroes. He says that he did it without the special gift of superpowers. So it appears like this boy, who I will forever refer to as Buddy from now on, isn't quite aware
That's
of
his
the
real
power
name?
who I will
Buddy
forever
Pine?
refer to as Buddy from
I know his name, like his name was Buddy. I didn't know the last name.
now on, isn't quite aware of the power he contains, the intellect. My question is, how would Syndrome be a super unless both his parents were? And here's where we need
Yeah,
to
okay.
dive deep into the Incredibles lore and figure out how superhero reproduction works.
You know what? Now that I learned about the whole like genetics thing from his previous theories, what if it's like also like maybe his parents don't have the superpowers, but maybe it was like skipping generations? Look at me just learning from the theorizer. I'm like learning science from him. And like science I would say is like my weakest subject.
So everybody assumed that Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl had children with completely different powers, but that isn't true. Not entirely, at least. You see, Dash has powers which are sort of like a mix of both his parents. He has his mother's agility plus his father's strength, making him a mix between both. If you check the Incredibles bonus disc, Elastigirl's stats put her at full agility, and Bob's strength is maxed out. And what do you get when you mix strength and agility? Speed.
Okay.
Boom!
That's kind of cool to
Dash
think
solved.
about. I never thought about like
Jack
how
can
their
also be
powers come to be
explained
like
off as
that.
his powers are still developing, but Violet, she's the odd one out. Not only
Yeah.
does she have two powers, but neither of them have any relation to her
There's no
parent.
resemblance
And another
of
factor is her
appearance.
genetics. They make no sense.
So yeah, like I said, it could be the parents of, her parents. Could be skipping generations.
Unless she dyed her hair, it's only possible for her to be adopted. But that's a theory for an entirely different video.
Oh, you know
But
what?
it does arise the question,
That could be a
did
thing.
the Incredibles adopt Violet because her real parents were superheroes who were endangered? Or perhaps killed by Syndrome? As I said,
What the
that's
heck?
for a totally different day. But what we get from this interesting observation
Killed by syndrome. I feel like. I mean, I don't know about that.
is that Syndrome can only be a superhero if one of his parents is. Based off of Dash, we can assume that a super child will be about half as powerful in a certain area. Dash is half as powerful as Helen and half as powerful as Bob, but it's only because he shares both of their powers. So if Buddy had a father or a mother who had superb brain powers, then he should as well. But to half the
Oh, bad. Alright, let's continue.
extent. This is unless, of course, both of his parents were intellectual supers, and thanks to the special bonus disc I actually bought,
what?
we can figure out if any of the supers
Are we
he
gonna
killed
really-
match the description of his parents.
Okay.
But before we start, I want to point something out. YouTubers The Super Carlin Brothers made an interesting observation, that Syndrome clearly has daddy issues.
Does he have some massive daddy issues? Absolutely.
You can't count on anyone, especially your heroes.
Make sure his mom knows what he's been doing.
I'll be a bigger hero than you ever were.
That he looks up to Mr. Incredible as more of a father
Yeah.
figure than a friend, almost like he's attempting to compensate for the father who's never around. Both Ben
I can
and
see
Jay
that.
concluded that his father may be working for the government and that
It
Syndrome
could just
may have
be like
inherited his
a
intelligence, but there's another option
an
here,
inspirational
that his
figure though.
father's never home because he's out fighting crime. Unbeknownst to Buddy, of course. And this all comes in a full circle when you look at what Mr.
But yeah, I
Incredible
guess in the
knows
context of
about
the
Buddy's family.
parent, like being a
He tells
superhero,
the
maybe
cops to inform Buddy's mom about his
maybe
antics,
he kind of sees him being like a replacement for the father.
implying that he knows at least something about his family. And if you watched my other theory, then you know that I'm almost certain Buddy had a direct tie to the government, or in the least, the NSA. Which,
The
yes,
NSA.
I know stands for the National Security Agency in our world, but I actually found direct confirmation on Disc 2, which definitively said that it actually stands for the National Supers Agency. So I was pretty close with my old video, but for even more proof that Syndrome's affiliated with the NSA, look no further than the fact that he has literally all of their files and the same computer.
You know what? That is
But
true.
more on that in a minute. I think he stole it. So let's look at these
The
bonus
data,
features.
I remember that scene where, you know, he had these. Well, you know, he could have just made those intel by himself, like his own research. But
And find the superheroes who are buddies.
definitely, he has a lot of
So right off
information.
the bat, when we play the
that he was
clip
able to
for the
gather.
superhero Downburst, we hear similarities to Syndrome.
My powers are atomic density manipulation, ability to reshape matter. Say you have a cut or a boo-boo on your arm, I can, you know, I can probably do something about that. I'm not exactly a Band-Aid. I'm a little bit better than that. I'll actually heal it.
The nerdiness they both share. Downburst's power is reforming matter, healing, shaping, and building things. Building? Sounds a bit like Buddy's hobby, but let's move on to the next candidate. Everseer is a good candidate. He
Oh yeah,
has
intelligence
powers of
so high.
intelligence and telekinesis, but it says he's terrified of women. Gamma Jack,
What?
on the other hand, is a ladies' man. So
Yeah, I
he would
remember
most
him.
definitely be with the
Yeah, I did watch another Incredibles theory from Alex Bale as well. During that time, though, like I feel like my knowledge of the Incredibles was not that deep compared to like this video here, where I did rewatch it. So yeah, good to hear more about the other theories as well, like other heroes as well.
girl of some sort when having Syndrome. The hero Psych Wave has the highest intelligence and therefore fits as the mother. As the mother, Mr. Incredible acts like he knows, and she fits the best out of all of them. But then, I noticed something else. A superhero known as Universal Man has the power of atomic density manipulation, the ability to change
Wait.
things' size, mass, and manipulate the atoms of anything. This
But
is
its
just
intelligence
like
so low.
Downburst, but on a much larger scale, and far more similar to Buddy. The creation of zero-point energy is
Okay, hold on. I need to hear that again. That whole thing. I need to hear that explanation.
manipulate the manipulation. A superhero known as Universal Man has the power of atomic density manipulation, the ability to change things' size, mass, and manipulate the atoms of anything. This is just like Downburst, but on a much larger scale, and far more similar to Buddy. The creation
Okay.
of zero-point energy is something Buddy assumed he could just do, but
Yeah, okay. I'm assuming why he thinks highly of like the downburst and also this guy here is because of the zero energy. I guess that is one thing to also bring up too, because I would say that's like his, I guess, his main magical power.
when you look at the evidence of his father, who had powers that parallel this exactly, that's when things get spooky. And notice how he was the first one Buddy killed.
Oh,
The first one. Maybe
that-
Buddy did know more than his parents led him to believe.
That is crazy.
And this hero was the only
He would be the first one to go out. Dang. I'm getting like that feeling again of like, you know, if you've been watching my whole series so far of like, you know how I feel about like the whole Ratatouille theories and also the Ross theories too, where like, you know, it feels like it's believable in a way where it can also affect your viewing experience. I feel like just having that in mind, like him being the first one to go out, I feel like that really, I guess, fits in well with like a story.
one without a secret identity, leading me to believe that his prolonged absence from home may perhaps be a factor in Buddy's sad, sad childhood. Daddy issues epitomized. So this is getting really deep and cool, But it leads me to one
I think it's really
question.
cool.
Did Buddy truly eliminate all of the supers, or did he just think he did? Kind of like how he thought he killed
Yeah,
Bob
that could be a
Carr.
possibility
This
too.
is thought-provoking, but
Because
it's for another
Mr.
video.
Incredible was
And,
able to
all of this
avoid
super stuff is really cool
at first.
but after all of this research, I discovered something on the bonus disc, which is actually what prompted me to make this whole video. It 100% confirms the theory that Buddy had the government's files, but does not mean that he was working with them. It also proves that Buddy's mother may be Psychwave. Do you want to have an epic mind blow? Well, get a load of this.
Okay.
The bonus disc explains that various heroes formed groups. One in particular is known as the
What?
Phantasmics. It
I didn't even know this was a thing. Like actual superhero groups like the Avengers. So what is this? The Phantasmics? Like the Fantastic Four?
has Macro Burst, Plasma Bolt, and it did have Gazer Beam until Everseer took over his position. But there's one final member to this team. You guessed it, Psychwave. And you will not believe where their headquarters are located. They are located on a secret mid-ocean island. Sound familiar?
Oh,
My theory is
yeah.
that when Syndrome killed his parents, he discovered their information on the secret base, which he then took power of, giving him all of the information on the NSA. This funded his plans, let him build inventions, and pursue a life in supervillainy. Notice the order in which the supers are eliminated. First, it's Universal Man, which would make sense if it was someone close to him. Then, Psychwave, someone he'd also
Man.
be close to. And how on earth
That's
could
crazy.
he defeat a freaking psychic? Unless he inherited some of her power, that is. The next one is Everseer, the next person on the team of the Phantasmics. Then
Man.
another on the team. It just keeps going. And it all makes sense.
I gotta say that is probably one of the best piece of evidence that he's brought up. I gotta say I'm very impressed by that. I think it really fits in well.
So now we know
In my
why,
opinion.
in the deleted scenes, Syndrome said supers shouldn't breed, because it can lead to a generation that could turn dark. You condescendingly sarcastic little brat. Buddy Pine, sociopathic supervillainous mastermind, genocidal batshit psychotic misanthrope, introverted corrupted fanboy from hell, the greatest villain from the greatest animation in history. A person who, even as a boy, seemed to somehow know everything about supers, including their breeding. He wasn't just a fan of Mr. Incredible. And what a last name. Pine. Like pine as in to suffer a mental decline because of a broken heart. Boom.
Okay, I never thought about
Theorizer.
that. I gotta say, yeah, that was a really good video. Yeah, so what a way to start out the whole Incredibles theories, man. So I feel like with that one video alone, I feel like it does kind of like, for me at least, rival the Roz theories, which for me I would say is like the, my favorite one so far. And I guess for me when it comes to theories, like how I kind of like grade them, I guess mainly I would say maybe just two things. It's well, one, like believability, if like I can maybe see it happening like within that realm of like possibility and stuff. But also too like the evidence. And I felt like in that first video, like with the evidence, I thought that was like really well done where, when he showed like how they're based, those phantasmics, they're like on an island or like in the middle of the ocean, which pretty much fits in well with Syndrome's base of operations. And then you see like the order of like the people who gets eliminated. The first one being the father, which I feel like would make sense. He probably like despises his father like the most, followed by, I guess maybe trying to take over that base in the middle of the ocean, going for the mother next, and then the Everseer. But yeah, a very interesting. I thought that was really strong to start out with. But let's go ahead and continue on with the second one here. How one scene changed Syndrome's life. Okay, let's see. It is required that you watch that one. Yep. That's the one I just watched, right? I assume so.
Wow, it was not that long ago that I made my Incredibles theory, but I must say, it was probably one of my favorite theories to make. I had the perfect music and effects for it.
I thought it was
and
like
that's
one of the better
primarily why
ones in my
it's one
opinion.
of my favorite videos, but Even though
Evidence-wise,
I've
it
done a
was
lot of
it fits
part
in
2
very well.
videos recently,
I
I
liked it.
really want to take a good look at this one again. And no, I'm not talking about the part to do with Syndrome being a superhero, I'm talking about the massive mind blow I dropped at the very end. Watch that video
Yeah,
immediately
that
if you haven't
ending
yet,
was really
and then
good.
return
I liked
to
it a
this
lot.
one, because I'm about to present more evidence for the theory that Syndrome's island was the sole result of a methodical hijacking.
Alright, here we go. Let's go see what that one scene might be that changes life, man. I'm not sure what it is, but... Alright, here we go. Is it like Mr. Incredible,
Hello,
like
I'm the
hitting on him?
Theorizer, and don't you just
Hello,
love the
Theorizer.
comment section? Recently, I've been pushing the boundaries of my haters,
Jeez, what the
responding to
heck?
hate with even sassier sass, and it's fun to see the haters indulge in self-triggering.
I mean, for me, these
But
are
the
just like
comments are
fun,
also useful
like theory
for more than
videos. I don't
just
think it's
entertaining flame
anything that
wars.
serious.
They're really good for the insightful people who help with evidence. Most of the time, I'll just pin the comments that have great evidence, but this time, I found such a useful comment on Syndrome Part 1 that I absolutely have to share it with you. Because
Okay.
of just how much it changes things for my little island
Yeah,
theory.
once again, I do
Remember
like
my
how he
Lorax video?
incorporates
It
the
wasn't my best
audience's,
work, but the
like,
mini
research as
theory
well.
inside of it about Ted's grandpa was some of my best work. And remember when I got a comment on that video that was so amazing that I made a video about that comment all by itself? Well, today, a similar situation has risen. A commenter named Grant Rogers commented something very useful to my theory, which I actually couldn't believe I missed the first time around. Before I
Okay.
present their evidence, I quickly want to recap this little theory I had. I will now show you a clip, which is a couple of minutes long, which is from the end of my other theory. Here it is. But after all of this research, I discovered something on the bonus disc, which is actually what prompted me to make this whole video. It 100%
Okay, we're pretty much like
confirms the
rewatching
theory
this part.
that Buddy had the government's files.
I assume this is from
but
the
does not
first
mean
part.
that he was working
Yep.
with them. It also proves that Buddy's mother may be Psychwave. Do you want to have an epic mind blow? Well, get a load of
Yeah, so this part I thought was
The bonus
really
disc
good.
explains that various heroes formed groups. One in particular is known as the Phantasmics. It has Macro Burst, Plasma Bolt, and it did have Gazer Beam until Everseer took over his position. But there's one final member to this team. You guessed it, Psychwave. And
You know,
will
I've always, like, for me, I'm not gonna lie, after watching that Incredibles movie, I really love the lore. And then now, like, ever since, like, Alex Bale's video that I watched, like, I never realized that there were, like, other heroes as well. Like, I'm not sure if there's, like, some kind of, like, comic or something, some, like, extra material to, like, even see, like, the other heroes. I know they got, like, that audio files that they got, that they do to, I guess, showcase each other. But yeah, I would love to see, like, more of them. I think for me, like, I remember seeing them being like playable in that Lego Incredibles game too. But yeah, I'm like also just interested in the other heroes as well, man. Seems like a very fleshed out world.
not believe where their headquarters are located. They are located on a secret mid-ocean island. Sound familiar? My theory is that when Syndrome killed his parents, he discovered their information on the secret base, which he then took power of, giving him all of the information on the NSA. This funded his plans, let him build inventions, and pursue a life in supervillainy. Notice the order in which the supers are eliminated. First,
Yeah, this
it's
part I thought
Universal
was
Man,
really impressive
which would
to
make
bring
sense
up.
if it was someone
I think
close
it really
to
fits
him.
in with his theories.
Then Psychwave, someone he'd
With his
also
theory
be
on the
close
first
to.
video.
And how on earth could he defeat a freaking psychic? Unless he inherited some of her power, that is. The next one is Everseer, the next person on the team of the Phantasmics. Then another on the team. It just keeps going, and it all makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think he showed that last member though.
Thanks to the bonus
But I
disc,
think it's,
blew
still
my
fine.
own mind into infinitesimal smithereens when I figured this out. But then came this comment. Grant Rogers pointed out how Gazerbeam was found dead in the cave.
Oh, you know what?
But that he somehow knew the password Chronos.
That is something I never thought about too. I kind of forgot about the password for a second. I was like wondering about that when I saw that because it's so like, I don't know, it's just like randomly there. It feels like there should be a reason why it's there. And also with the word Chronos too, I assume that's got to deal with time, right? I assume. So yeah, like even with Gazer Beam there, right? Apparently, like you said, he used to be part of the Phantasmic, and now he's back at his own base, all being dead. Dude, this is. I'm really impressed by this theory.
Everybody, to this day, seemed to be confused as to how Gazerbeam knew the password. Even on the wiki, all it says is that he got it through an unknown method. But now, more than ever, is it completely
I mean, yeah, if
transparent.
he did say that he was
Like,
part of the
kinda handle your
Phantasmics, right?
marketing.
Yeah, so based on like what he said earlier with Gazerbeam being the leader of the Phantasmics, like formerly the leader, I assume that the reason why he knows is because, it's probably like a password that he knows from the computers. Probably didn't change it like when he left, so he probably just knows the password of it. But yeah, that's what I assume. I'm not sure if he's about to bring up a different reason why he knows the password, but I assume he might be saying like what I've been saying about like what he said. Okay, let's continue.
Laserbeam was one of the original members on the
Yeah.
team of the Phantasmics, before Everseer, of course, took over his position as leader, but if he originally was on the team, he'd know about their computer's
Yeah.
password. For some reason, Gazerbeam was kicked out by Everseer, but more on that in a second. Grant
Kicked out?
Rogers also goes on
Oh,
about how Gazerbeam
that sounds
wrote
bad.
Kronos onto the cave walls
I thought it's
because he
like,
learned
passing on the mantle of being the leader. Like, I've grown old, and now I'll pass on my leadership to you. That's what
about
I thought.
Syndrome's plans from the hijacked computer and left the password there for other supers to find when they inevitably became threatened by Buddy. Grant also mentions that Buddy kept the password on the wall along with Gazerbeam's corpse just so that he could recapture Mr. Incredible and other supers after they learned the truth. Now that is serious
Okay.
psychological
Wow.
manipulation and misanthropy, and it makes sense. Syndrome didn't even check behind the bones, and look at Mirage. She didn't second guess the grunt after Mr. Incredible moved the Tiki statue. But apparently, a minor little beeper sets off hundreds of sticky balls. But how did Gazerbeam get there? Let's see. We know that after the laws against supers, Gazerbeam went into hiding, and that he protested a bit, and then he was lured back by Buddy Pine. Now, you may be asking, well, wouldn't Gazerbeam be suspicious that he was going right back to his old island? The answer is no. Not at all, because notice who Mirage poses as. A government representative who claims she has ties to the NSA. And when the supers were all forced into hiding, all of the bases would immediately be taken by the government. It all makes complete and total sense. And remember, Gazerbeam had no idea that it was hijacked to begin with, because for some reason, he left their team long ago. Another question you may be asking is why didn't Syndrome change the password? And my response to that would be that, he savagely murdered every single super who he thought knew the password. He wouldn't need to hide anything, because he'd be the only one who would know, next to, of course, his accomplice.
And the NSA wouldn't likely know the Phantasmic's password, as it was not strictly the NSA's computer. Yeah, I can see that too.
And the reason Syndrome knew the password in the first place is because, again, of the parents he had torn to shreds. As commenter Sir Kixalot pointed out, the symbolism between the Greek titan Kronos and my theory on Syndrome are quite similar. A boy who is weak in comparison to his father rises up and defeats him.
Now we're going with the mythology.
As ruler. Sounds awfully familiar and bizarre. But finally, why did Gazerbeam leave? Why leave a perfectly good team and move to another one? Well, for that, we must consult the bonus disc again. It says that Gazerbeam and Everseer never saw eye to eye, which is hilariously punny when you think about it, but the point is, Gazerbeam wouldn't allow another member, or perhaps someone so overpowered.
But then, Dynaguy died.
A position as leader was needed on his team. Apparently, his team was the most famous supers team ever. That was when Gazerbeam quit the Phantasmics and joined these guys. And along with their new leader Gazerbeam, the team had Apogee and Phalange. Apogee could control gravity, and Phalange could manipulate sonic fields. The Thrilling Three, they were called, and that's Gazerbeam's whole story. But it's a good one. And I mean, look at No Manison Island. Just look at it. Even down to the underwater entrance. This island
I thought that
looks
was really
a
cool
lot
to see too.
like a superhero
Very impressive.
hideout. It doesn't really give off an evil vibe until we learn the truth about Syndrome. These clues, they're all just too perfect. But it really makes you wonder, why would all these people work for Syndrome? Sure, they might get money, but why would Mirage stay as his lover and accomplice for so long? Why is any of his plan sane to them? Well, think about it.
I mean, I feel like for the soldiers, like I said before, I just thought that maybe he just like because he was super smart that he just made some really cool inventions and then sold those. But now that we have like the parents in play, he probably just like inherited, their wealth after like murdering them. See, that's what I guess newly assume now, since I guess what I said what I thought before probably isn't the case now. As for the Mirage, I mean, if that future theory that we're about to watch, I guess she's a robot. It was a robot, right?
Syndrome already did develop artificial intelligence capable of feeling, which he spread throughout all parts of the island, and even gave his planes literal life with robots who controlled them.
Oh, you know what?
AI.
Yeah.
An AI which turned on him in the end, much like Mirage did.
Man, okay.
I mean,
Actually, I do like that.
almost like she's not
Now we got
quite
the AI
real.
coming in.
And what is it she tells Mr. Incredible?
My name is Mirage. We have something in common. According to the government, neither of us exist.
But that's a theory for an entirely different day,
That's the
and
next
I
one.
don't want to blast myself into a coma if I blow my mind too hard. So that's my epic theory. I hope you were mind blown at least a little bit, but not too badly. I've gotten frequent complaints from people who had to clean up the mess produced by a blown mind, so be careful. But until next time, I'm the Theorizer.
Yeah, that was really cool, man. I like that theory a lot as well. Yeah, man, that was a really good video, and I gotta say, man, so far, I feel like I can confidently say that the Incredibles theory is probably my favorite so far, just because I really do believe it, as well as the evidence just feels like there's like a lot to it that really, I guess, matches well with his theories that he's proposing. Like I thought the Roz one was really good, but this one to me like really takes the cake. Even like when I watch his SpongeBob theories too, like this one really is probably my favorite trilogy of the Theorizer theories so far. Like who knows? Maybe in the future, if I do ever watch like some of his other videos, maybe that might take the throne. But like, yeah, when it comes to believability and the facts, like his evidence, like it really does like feel like good to believe in. Anyways, here we go. The last Incredibles theory that we'll watch here is the Mirage is a robot theory, the Incredibles. And yeah, there is more Incredibles theories, but they seem to be based on the second movie, which I do plan to rewatch. Yeah, I gotta say, man, after watching that first movie, because like I said before, I didn't even realize about the lore of the Incredibles movies. I just thought that they were just like a normal superhero family that just wants to lay low and live a normal life. I didn't realize that there was this whole thing about the superheroes like laying low because of like the law and stuff. I thought that was like really cool to see. And then like seeing all those superheroes being like annihilated by Syndrome. I thought that was like, wow, this guy's kind of scary if he's able to do all that. But yeah, let's go watch the last one here, man. Here we go.
Syndrome, a psychotic
I'm becoming
little
more of a
child
fan
who
of The
grew up
Incredibles
a
now.
Genius idiot. How's that for an oxymoron? In my last two videos
Oh,
on
can I hear that again? Did he say something new?
Syndrome, a psychotic little child who grew up a genius idiot. How's that
no.
for an oxymoron?
It's nothing new.
In my last two videos on Syndrome, I have delved into his antics, the secrets behind his amazing plan, his parents, and I've successfully solved his whole life story in the best grand theory on my whole channel. Watch those two videos before this one because today we close this trilogy of theories with the solution to one question. Why would people like Mirage and the Henchmen actually work for Syndrome? Well, they all could.
Like I said, the henchman, it could be just because he could pay them. He probably inherited the wealth of his parents after um, making them unalive. Then yeah, I guess Mirage is a robot, I guess,
paid
that he
hefty
built.
money, but the henchmen, they all act identically. They all seem
Probably
so
for companionship and
one-sided and
wanting
bland,
some kind of
and
like
they don't really
loyalty.
care that Syndrome is as sociopathic as he is. So what's going on here?
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Yeah, I'm really into The Incredibles now, man. Like, I love the lore of it. All right, here we go.
Hello, I'm the Theorizer, and I
Hello,
really
Theorizer.
like The Incredibles, so in honor of the sequel, I'm solving the first movie one final time. For those who fail to recollect my past videos, I'll briefly recap. Syndrome is the son of two supers, one of which is likely Psychwave, a superhero whose profile you can find in the side features of this movie's bonus disc. Syndrome, also known by his real name, Buddy Pine, possibly killed both of his super parents, and then he usurped their superhero base on Nomanison Island, where he proceeded to slaughter all of the other supers on their team, using his incredible intellect spawned from his mother's psychic abilities. A hero known as Gazerbeam was amongst one of the supers who Syndrome lured back to the island, and we learn on the bonus disc that Gazerbeam used to be on the same superhero team who owned the island, until he was kicked out by
Oh, it's
the
right
other
there in
members.
the notes. I didn't
Upon
even realize
Gazerbeam's
that.
death, he used his laser to carve the supercomputer's password on the wall. Syndrome had no reason to change the password after his takeover, since not only did the code word match his plans and life story, but it also wasn't something anyone would have had access to anyways. So Gazerbeam remembered the password from when he was on the team, and he carved it. But at the end of my second video, I highlighted something very interesting. Clearly Mirage, his assistant, is a worker for the US government. She was sent to Nomanison Island because Syndrome was working with the US government, though they didn't know of his secret agenda. Some even believe Mirage was a spy, which I fully agree with, as the government
Oh, did
was
he make
likely
another video
suspicious of
about that
Syndrome
too?
and they would have sent her in. But I've also been driven to believe that she has something seriously wrong with her. In part 2, I talked about how Syndrome's planes and gadgets, they all share the same system of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Syndrome used his superb intelligence to create it all, and once he dominated his new base, he spread his AI through all of his machines, vehicles, robots, all across the island. These artificial intelligences have personalities, and they learn as they go. Some of them even comprehend some level of emotion, as seen in how the Omnidroid can oftentimes hold a bit of a grudge after failing to kill a target.
Yeah, I guess he definitely made them sentient in a way. If like the robot can like keep on learning, I feel like maybe there's like a vulnerability where they can like become sentient and have their own like mood and personality. Where yeah, that Omnidroid, that's what it's called, right? The Omnidroid could probably feel pissed off at Syndrome.
Mirage is very distinctly intriguing. Her name is something to note. Clearly,
Oh
it's
my gosh, the name too. Wow, Mirage. That is true as well. She's not what it seems.
codename Mirage. As most of you should know, a mirage is an
Yeah,
illusion.
an
something
illusion.
not real. And while she does act like a bit of a chameleon, shifting her personality rapidly depending on her environment, the name Mirage, I feel, means something deeper, almost like she herself is not real. Mirage almost sounds like a name given to a product of beta testing, almost like how the Nintendo Wii was codenamed Revolution, or the GameCube was codenamed Dolphin. Mirage sounds
can
like
see
a
that.
name, but not a given one, or not even really a spy name. And while it could allude to her chameleon nature with the shifting personality, that doesn't explain why she has that name to begin with, because the only people who really notice this personality are we, watching the movie, and it wouldn't make sense for someone in this movie's universe to name her that. You get what I mean? Also, when she approaches Mr. Incredible for the very first time, her introduction is something shocking when you realize what it can mean. She says, "According to the government, neither of us exists." Whoa.
Yeah.
Now, that can mean she's a spy who's had her citizenship files deleted, sort of like Mr. Incredible has, but that seems too obvious and doesn't really apply to her. Also, she was talking about how Mr. Incredible had his citizen files deleted, so it's unlikely that she'd refer to herself in the same way by using a complex metaphor. Which leaves only one remaining possibility, that she's not real in the sense of not human. Almost like a cyborg, a very advanced one that contains an extremely advanced AI created by Syndrome, which works alongside the entire AI that runs the island. But
Yeah, for me, I feel like maybe, if I were to give my first thoughts on that idea, this could be the weakest one, but like I need to see his evidence and what he's about to propose. We'll see. It's hard for me to like imagine how this will this will go.
she seems to seriously
Because like for me, like I don't really see much like any cybernetics on her or for her to be like a robot. Because yeah, like her words, like when she says that we both don't exist or whatever. Like that can be mean. That can mean like a different amount of things.
Struggle when Mr. Incredible chokes her, implying there's no way she's made of metal, and she seems to have emotion, leading me to believe that either her AI has advanced too far, or she may have something even deeper going on. The concept of her being a spy is top-notch and excellent, but here's what I think. I think Syndrome has controlled her to some extent with the psychic powers inherited from his mother. His super intellect, of course, as I've said, was accompanied by psychic powers which he used to kill his mother and the rest of her hero team inconspicuously, but with swift efficiency. My question about being robotic or hypnotized not only applies to Mirage, but to Syndrome's whole entire team of almost robotic henchmen, each one
I can maybe see them like, controlling them through his psychic powers inherited from his mother. I can maybe see that.
identical to the last. I've always believed that they were some version of an
But that also too, like if you assume that he's maybe just lying about his powers as well.
AI he created, hence their superhuman reflexes and ability to fly their hover ships so accurately, but a commenter suggested a secondary idea, which I'd already believed for Mirage, that Syndrome is instilling fear into them all with his powers and intellect, and is using his psychic abilities to amplify it to a stage at which they robotically follow his every command. Think about it. They all obey literally every command, they are incredibly one-dimensional, and they celebrate at the death of tons of humans by drinking, presumably champagne, while having a party in an RV. But they do still have a party, and they do have emotions, meaning that they can't be simple robots. Conclusion? They've been psychically manipulated into convincing themselves that what they're doing is morally correct.
Yeah, I think that one I believe in more than like just being a robot, just him controlling them, controlling their minds.
It's adding yet another layer of freaky onto this already scary situation. Mirage has been manipulated, but we know she too isn't a robot because she defies Syndrome in the end. Now, this could just be the AI becoming too smart for its own good, but it's far more likely that Syndrome has been distracted by Mirage's so-called love towards him, weakening his hypnosis on her. So, in
Oh, bad. Alright, let's continue.
Syndrome, also known as Buddy Pine, is the child of Psychwave and, most likely, Universal Man. Parents who were rarely around because they were doing hero work. Buddy Pine looked up to Mr. Incredible, a hero who saved the city constantly. When he was turned down by Mr. Incredible repeatedly, Buddy gave up. His powers had already started to develop, his intellect and minor psychic powers coming from his mother, and his zero-point energy beams inherited from his matter-shifting father. His parents, or more specifically his mother, had been fighting in a civil war with her own team of heroes, in which Gazerbeam was ejected from their team, and they accepted a new person in. Their secret island base, No Madison Island, was of course also partially owned by the NSA, also known as the National Supers Agency, a government agency that aimed to organize and aid superheroes. After Buddy's revenge plan was initiated, his rage and motivation surpassed that of any love he had for his always absent parents. He then killed his father with his very first Omni-Droid. Second on his list was his mother, who just so happened to be killed by Buddy Pine right after Universal Man. Killing her, that's what opened up a whole new world of opportunities. As he advanced his artificially intelligent machines, he found all of Psychwave's files regarding the NSA and the plans for supers. With utter ease, Syndrome found No Madison Island, and as we see on the kill list, he instantly killed every single member on Psychwave's team in
This part was
order,
crazy to see.
following his infiltration of their island. He found their computer, typed
Like
in
all
the
the-
password Psychwave had in their files,
all the people.
and used the NSA's information to track down and hunt all of the other superheroes. Using the millions of dollars he gained by selling his machines to the US government, he built up
there we
Madison
go.
Island into his base. Now fully able to utilize his zero-point energy inherited from his father and the super intellectual psychic powers inherited from his mother. He then brought in Mirage, likely a recommendation by the US government, a woman who could help Syndrome with his inventions, when in actuality, she's secretly a spy who will feed information back to the government. But Syndrome flipped the situation on the government when he psychically controlled her, causing all information she fed back to the government to be lies. This fully explains why the government never made a move on No Madison Island. Mirage was hypnotized into telling them that everything was fine, and Syndrome wasn't killing anyone. Buddy Pine chose not to change the computer's password, as not only did it personally resonate with him, but it also wasn't a problem. Nobody could surpass him. He, like all villains, was cocky. He then began killing more heroes, one of which was Gazerbeam, who died in a cave beneath the island. But Gazerbeam knew things, because as the bonus disc tells us, he was in fact a part of the team. Until, remember, he was kicked out in the Civil War. He used the last of his powers to engrave what he remembered to be the supercomputer's password into the walls, and then he died. As Buddy Pine's plan continued, we finally got to see his defeat in the movie, after he'd manipulated and psychically entranced hundreds of henchmen and advanced his AI to an unimaginable point. He was still defeated by the fact that his small love for Mirage distracted him. Damn you, side chicks! What a brilliant plan, what a brilliant theory of mine. Wow. You know, her incredibly thin body might finally be explained. She's one of the only
does have a
Pixar
very thin body.
characters with freakishly abnormal bodily proportions. Must be a robot. Or, as we know, maybe not. Until next time, I'm the Theorizer. I bet I'll have a ton of Incredibles 2 theories coming down the pipeline. Get hyped.
Yeah, The Incredibles 2, I'm looking forward to, man. So yeah, there you guys have it. That is my reaction to the 3 Incredible 1 theories over here, with the Syndrome stuff, and also the Mirage theory here. I thought the first 2 over here were probably the strongest that I've seen when it comes to the Theorizer so far, and I've only watched like his SpongeBob theories and I guess all the Pixar Mega Theory videos until, this point here. Yeah, I do think the third one though, I am like a bit of a mixed bag on, because I thought about it near the end there. That's why I was like maybe quiet for the most part when I was watching this video near the end. Um, but yeah, pretty much like, I can maybe see him controlling them, but I'm not sure if that would be like a power thing. Because yeah, I just feel like for me, like I said, there's also got to be like a sense of believability as well, and also with like evidence as well. I feel like with me, I can maybe go as far as maybe saying that he does have superpowers, of him being like super smart, but that's pretty much it. Like maybe he's like super smart, but maybe he doesn't realize that he has that as a power. But yeah, it's just like in the film, like I feel like he makes it a point where he doesn't have superpowers at all, and that everything that he did was through his technology. Instead, I can maybe see it to where maybe instead of like controlling them through like natural powers, maybe instead it's through his inventions, his machines and stuff. Like maybe he has to like manually, like, like manually install something on those soldiers, and maybe Mirage too, to make them like work for him. And then like with Mirage, maybe like whatever he installed on them to control them, like maybe defects over time. Kind of like in Star Wars, the Clone Wars, when they have that, I think it's called the inhibitor chip that makes them go through Order 66, which is an order that pretty much they gotta follow when they hear the words like execute Order 66, and then they gotta do like this one order no matter like if it's bad or good. But yeah, that's just how I kind of maybe can see this. Like maybe not through natural powers, but maybe more of like, his inventions, his machinery. I can maybe see that is how he controls them all. Um, but yeah, I just think maybe at the very most, his powers is probably just him being like super smart. I don't think he has like the his mother's powers or his father's powers. Like if anything, I can maybe see him like trying to replicate the powers through machinery and his inventions. I can maybe see him doing that, but yeah, I don't think his powers are like natural, except for his like brain being super smart. But yeah, overall, like I said, probably my favorite set of theories so far from the Theorizer. We'll see if The Incredibles 2 will change my mind, or even like his future theories over here. But yeah, I thought this was like very strong when it came to the first 2 videos here. I did like the evidence that he presented. I think it pretty much fits in well. Um, but yeah, we'll see what it's like in the future, man. I think, yeah, definitely, man. Can't wait to watch the second movie. I think for me, definitely, I'm getting into the Incredibles lore, because like I said, after watching that first movie, I thought the whole thing with the superheroes going under, like just living a normal life, and not like they can't like do superhero stuff. I thought that was an interesting thing. I never knew about that when I first watched the movie back then. But yeah, I wanted to see more, man. Can't wait to watch the second one. I do remember a bit of it because that was like one of the more recent ones from like maybe half a decade ago, right? At the very least. But yeah, can't wait to see more of this, this whole movie, man. And then we'll move on to like whatever is after The Incredibles. I guess there'll be still a mixture of The Incredibles over here. Anyways, I'm just blabbering right now. Yeah, overall, best theory so far. And then yeah, I'll see you guys next time. So that'll be for now, guys. That's game.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good